development of cafeteria. I'm going to call this meeting to order. I'm going to roll call. Mr. Ramirez.
Present.
Mr. Castillo.
Present.
Mr. Luis Castillo. Mr. Danny Garcia.
Present.
Mrs. Debbie Lopez. Dr. B. And myself present as well. We do have a quorum. Mr. Castillo, can you talk about
United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Item number 1, consider and take possible action on designation of fund balance as of August 31st, 2019.
The district will record $3,957,419 as designated fund balance for the repairs of Rio Grande City High School as of August 31st, 2019. Net proceeds for the recovery of damages for the defective design and construction of such facility were received in the amount of $4,012,004. However, $54,585 were reimbursed to the general fund for HVAC repairs in the months of March and April of 2019. On June 26, 2019, a letter was sent to the Commissioner, Mike Morrell, respectfully asking for approval of reimbursing such amount and stating that if the district did not receive a response within 30 days of the date of that letter, the district would assume such reimbursement was approved. No response had been received as of Friday, August 23, 2019, and an email was sent that same day to Commissioner Morrell stating the district would proceed to make the reimbursement because of non-objection. Administration recommends the recording of $3,957,419 as designated fund balance.
For these, for the construction, right? That's what we're
Yes,
saying.
for repairing.
Okay.
Do we have a motion on item 1?
I so move.
A motion by Mr. Rivera. Do we have a second? Second. Second by Mr. Garcia. All in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries. Item number 2, consider and take possible action on last budget amendment number 2019-06.
In the package that you received, you will find Budget Amendment 2019-6, and this represents the last amendment to our 2018-2019 budget. And this is basically to make sure that we did not overspend on any of the functions.
We have a motion on item 2.
I so move.
We have a motion by Mr. Rivera. Do we have a second? Second by Dr. D. All in favor, raise your right hand. Motion passes. Item number 3, consider and take possible action on the adoption of the 2019-2020 annual budget.
We have complied with the requirements of the law to post notice of a public hearing 10 days before the adoption of the annual budget. Work session was held on August 13, 2019 to review the proposed budget with the Board of Trustees. At the time of the public hearing, the proposed budget was presented to the board and the public for discussion. We recommend the approval of the proposed 2019-2020 budget.
We have a motion on item 3. We have a motion by Dr. D. Do we have a second? Second by Mr. Garcia. All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, motion carried. Item number 4, consider and take possible action on resolution to adopt the proposed 2019 tax rate.
Following the requirements of the Texas Education Code Section 44.004, a notice of public meeting to discuss budget and proposed tax rate was published. A public meeting was held and the proposed 2019-2020 budget was adopted. A resolution to adopt the tax rate for 2019 is attached. The tax rate to be adopted has 2 separate components, one for maintenance and operations and one for debt, INS. The administration recommends the adoption of a tax rate of 1.0125 cents for maintenance and operations and a tax rate of 0.3099 for interest and sinking. The total tax rate for 2019 would be in the amount of $1.3224 per $100. We respectfully recommend and submit for your approval a tax rate of 1.0125 for maintenance and operations and a tax rate of 0.3099 for interest and fee.
We have a motion on item 4.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Villarreal. Do we have a second? Second by Mr. Garcia. All in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries. Item number 5, consider and take possible action on compensation for RGCCISD employees for the 2019-2020 school year.
Mr. President, I want to make a motion that at this time that we do away with the compensation plan that's presented and instead adopt a plan where if you work 20-plus years in our district, you get $4,500. If you work 6 years and more, you get $4,000. If you work less than 6 years, you get $3,500. And this applies to all teachers, all administrators, all librarians, and all counselors. I also move that we give paraprofessionals $2,000 if they have more than 6 years experience and $1,500 if they have less than 6 years experience. We do have monies coming from the federal government. We have monies from Workman's Comp. We have lawsuits monies that would more than suffice to pay for these raises. I think our district did a tremendous job in bringing us from a letter C to a letter B. Our teachers, administrators, everybody, the whole family did a great job, and I think everybody should be compensated appropriately. And with that said, I make a motion.
We have a motion by Mr. Villarreal. Do we have a second?
I would definitely second that motion.
Second by Mr. Ramirez. Can we hear the presentation?
Rio Grande City CISD recommends the following proposed compensation raise for 2019-2020. This is included in the 2019-2020 annual budget. The increase in pay is as follows. Teachers, librarians, counselors, and nurses with 0 to 5 years of experience, $2,500. Teachers, librarians, counselors, and nurses with 6 through 12 years of experience, $3,500. Teachers, librarians, counselors, and nurses with 13 through 19 years of experience, $4,000. Teachers, librarians, counselors, and nurses with 20-plus years of experience, $4,500. Campus administrators, $1,500. Central office administrators, $1,000 with the exception of salaried employees making over $100,000. Paraprofessionals and auxiliary, $1,000.
Mr. President, I have a motion on the table.
I have a question. We have a motion by Mr. Villarreal, a second by Mr. Ramirez. All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, raise your left hand. And,
Well, did Ms. Lopez, did you vote for or against? I didn't. Yes. No, Ms. Lopez, because that's the only. You vote. Okay, you want to open up for discussion again before the vote?
let's open it up.
Okay.
Thank you. Ms. Lopez,
Yes, ma'am.
can I ask, with the current raises proposed as per the agenda,
Can't hear.
oh, I'm so sorry. As with the current raises proposed as on the agenda, where does this put our teachers and other employees as far as compared to the salaries in the state and in the nation? Or even how does this put us comparably locally?
Well, locally, before this raise, the average salary with all the teachers that we had was at $52,000 with the information provided. With this raise, I have not looked into that.
Ms. Robles, can I ask?
Yes,
Or
sir.
Mr. Salinas, what is the starting salary for a starting teacher in our district right now?
43,000, sir.
What is the starting salary in the valley? What does it generally run right now? Would you say it runs $51,000, $52,000, $53,000?
We did compare some of the districts. Is it okay I mention the districts, Council? So we have La Jolla ISD at 49.5 starting salary. Sharyland ISD 46.75. Roma ISD is 44,500. And Los Fresnos is 46,500, which also is an item coming up that we wanted to address, the compensation scale.
Mission is $53,000. McAllen is at $51,000. So the fact of the matter, we have other districts that are paying substantial amounts more dollars than we are. But the question I'm saying again is that all the teachers, all the administrators, and everybody in this room and all our district, they did a great job, and I do believe they should be compensated equally. It's like, I'll be honest with you, and Ms. Garza is probably going to get a nice raise, and she probably deserves it. But the same way that she's getting a nice raise, I don't think we should discriminate against people that are making $100,000 or more, or anybody. I think for the last 4 years, there's only been one raise in the last 4 years. The retirement has been affected dramatically. We have an opportunity to make everything good today. And with that said, I just think it is time to help the teachers out. I've already said that we've got $6.7 million coming from the federal government. We have about $5.9 million coming in from the state. We have an excess of $1 million coming out we could use from workman's comp. We have unlimited, it's not designated. We have $4.5 million coming from lawsuits. And I'm pretty sure we could get a little bit of everything and get what teachers haven't gotten in the last 4 years. One raise in the last 4 years, in my opinion, is not sufficient.
So, excuse me, what I heard, excuse me, this guy's on mute. So what I heard, Dr. Sealer, is that basically you said comparatively we are 1,000 off currently from close to La Jolla, and this is all prior to the requested salary increase, right? So the numbers you're giving me before this current grade.
The numbers I just mentioned, Dr. B, would be the new hire scale, the teachers on the new hire. That is correct.
So prior to the raise that we're proposing right now.
The raise would not, the new teachers hired to the district this year would not qualify for the raise.
But comparatively, what I'm saying, teachers for the 5 years, of all of the raises that we have, you did a summary, right? And you compared us to local schools. And in your opinion, were we comparable to local schools of our size?
I think once we adjust the new scale, which is one of the items coming up later in the agenda, I think we would be starting salary. And I know in Finance Committee, we did specify, I'm not a businessman, but I see, like Mr. Ariel mentioned, Mission, in my opinion, has to be competitive. McAllen's, they're landlocked. That's one of the things we look at. TASB, the last time we did this, looks at the, I guess what the business term, there's districts competing for teachers.
Quick questions.
I have one more question. I'm sorry, I wasn't finished. And so, our district, what exactly is our deficit that we're facing currently right now?
For the coming year,
Yes.
let me get my book.
The Robles, it's 5 million and change, okay?
Yes, but I wanted to give the exact number. It's 5,787,619.
The
How
Robles,
many air conditioners do we have that we still haven't repaired?
What was that? I'm
How many air
sorry.
conditioners do we have that we still haven't repaired? How many facilities do we need to repair? How many other major issues? We haven't purchased new buses. There are other things that we need to do. I am all about making sure our teachers are rewarded. I agree with you. And they do a fabulous job. And what we are trying to do is make sure that the deficit we have been given and the budget that we have to work with, that we make sure that everybody across the board receives what they should. And I ran for the school board to make sure that kids have the things that they need to have as well. I don't think a teacher in this room would say that they don't agree that the kids also deserve to have those things, equipment, facilities, a curriculum, all those things that make them better human beings. Because after all, isn't that why we are all here? And we are trying our best. We are to make sure that our teachers become comparable to those around them, and we have slowly gotten there, and we will continue to get there, but we can't forget our students.
Ms. Robles.
Yes, sir.
Do we have $6.7 million coming in from the federal government that we have not put in our budget?
That's what it's been said, sir.
Mr. Salinas, do we have an employee that's not in Chapter 21 that is suspended right now and getting paid as we speak? It's public information. I've already gotten the public information.
I would just caution the board and
Okay.
Mr. Salinas not to mention any names.
I'm not mentioning any names.
Okay, just an
I
employee.
mentioned descriptions, okay? Do we have an employee that's being paid right now that's being suspended?
Can I answer
I've got
that?
the public information, sir, so.
Well, I have a question. Was that not the decision of the current superintendent?
Well,
Mr.
I'm
Gonzalez, who you
I'm asking,
as
what, and then then I'm gonna ask a second question. Well, let me ask a second question.
Yes, sir.
Is that person gonna be entitled to a pay raise too?
Administrative, we decided that anyone on administrative leave will be included in the
So
raise.
the person's gonna get a $1,000 raise?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I do want to add, if I may clarify, the $6 million that are coming in from the federal government. I just came back from a superintendent's meeting at Region 1. We were told to be cautious about those monies because there was no guidelines or rules providing us that information. In addition to that, with House Bill 3, we do have a mandate that says that every teacher from pre-K through third grade need to be trained with the reading academies, which no funding was afforded. And there's other unanswered requirements that House Bill 3 is going to require a district to implement, and the funding is not there. In addition to that, we started looking at different numbers for compensation, and we changed the numbers over and over again as we were working to try to balance the budget. Our goal is to try to minimize the cost of salaries. Yes, we did bring back some substitutes back. There were in positions that we could not find any staff within our district to fill in those positions. These were not added positions. These were holding teachers that were already in those positions. My goal and our goal in the district is to afford everyone an opportunity to be employed, 2, 3, 4 years from now. We are in a budget deficit and have been for a very long time, and I would hate to come to that point where we would have to let go of more employees in our district. We do have emergencies. We did have them this past 2 months, having to replace some of our air conditioning units that are 15 to 20 years plus. Those unforeseen emergencies, we have to have the budget for that because we are not going to leave our children without air conditions and our teachers. That is why we're making this recommendation, afford everyone what we as a district, myself and business office and personnel office are recommending, because we want to make sure that we can at least survive more years and try to balance our budget.
Ms. Garza, all I'm saying that this board afforded you an increase, and that's a good thing. I'm not saying it is the same increase that you got. We should afford to our administrators, to everybody. In other words, if it's good for the goose, it's good for the gander. And all I'm trying to say, and I've known you a long time, you do a good job, and all I'm trying to say, the same way you deserve what you get, I think all these administrators, all these teachers, everybody, they did a great job. And I'm telling you right now, Ms. Garza, we have an extra $1 million from Workman's Comp. We have some money coming in from the federal government. We have $4.5 million in unassigned. I think we really have $6 million unassigned from lawsuits. We should be able to find a way today to go out there and help these individuals. Let me finish. We are going, correct me if I'm wrong, we have a 3-year-old program. We have Beyond the Bell. These principals are working harder than they ever worked in their lives, and we're giving them $1,500. That just doesn't seem right. Some of these administrators, man, they work day and night, and all I'm trying to say, I'm not saying I'll give them anything special. All I'm saying at the end of the day is what this board afforded you, why don't we afford to them?
And I totally agree, sir, but I'm looking at the entire district. And as far as my salary is concerned, sir, I don't know if it's because I'm a female, but I was proposed a lower salary than the previous superintendents. I'm not asking for anything other than it's outrageous.
Your salary is not in question.
Okay.
All I'm trying to say is, but you were proposed an increase. How can we give it to these people over here? And let me finish. There is money out there. Like I say, we started adding $6.5 million, $5.5 million, $1 million in Workman's Comp. We have about $4.5 in unassigned from lawsuits, another 1.5 unassigned from lawsuits. And accordingly, they say they did a good job at taking a lot of paras or permanent sub teachers and permanent subs. And the fact of the matter is, they did a good job. And all I'm trying to say, to go out there and start discriminating, well, somebody made over $100,000 and we're not going to give it to them. Well, maybe some of these people have been with us 15, 20 years. Some of the principals have been working their tails off with these new programs that we've got, and we want to give them $1,500? I have a motion on the table, and with that said, I'm going to.
Excuse me, ever since I came on board, I'm for raising. I said it before, we need to be competitive with the surrounding districts so that we cannot continue to lose good teachers. I'm not saying we don't have any good teachers, we have a bunch of good teachers. I'm for raises, but as a businessman, you cannot count on future sales. Let's get that money to come over to be in our bank account.
Mr. Velasquez, we've had one raise in 4 years.
And Mrs. Garza, Mr. Oldest, can you two please, I know you have a busy schedule, can you two please make an effort and go to every single campus in our district and make some kind of presentation to let the teachers know why you're recommending this. And if later on and we get those millions of dollars, there's always next year. We can give another raise. But we cannot, in my opinion, we cannot give away money that we don't have yet.
And Ms. Robles, I'm sorry.
I just wanted to add a little bit that basically it's just a question to Ms. Garza. No, the money that we're using to fund these raises was, you mentioned HB3, but isn't it true that the true intention of HB3 was to award the teachers, librarians, counselors, and nurses?
That is correct.
Mr. Garza, let me ask you, when we propose this plan that we're proposing, the majority of the people that are going to be served by this plan are going to be teachers. We have, how many administrators do we have to teachers? We have, 80, 90% of teachers and maybe, 15% administrators? So basically, we are doing what they're saying. All this money is going to helping teachers first and foremost.
But we're going beyond the 30% as the minimum required by the state.
Minimum required, exactly.
Right, exactly.
They didn't say that they can go more. Minimum required.
That is correct.
No, I just think it's funny because now, a couple of weeks ago, the amounts were significantly lower, and now particular members of this board are making it seem like the whole time they had the same amount of information in their mind, and yet there was different numbers a couple weeks ago, and now they're different.
And
So when you go to the schools,
and I am going to be very
I didn't interrupt
honest.
anybody when y'all were speaking. I actually kept quiet the whole time.
And I am going to be very honest. You
I'm
know
just saying,
that
when you go
in
to the
all prior
classroom,
workshops,
30%.
I had always recommend to stay within the 30% because I know how much the district had been hurting.
Okay.
And even if I don't get a raise, I'm going to be happy as long as we have a stable district economically
Not
wise
everybody feels the
and
same
with
way.
the scores.
I'm sorry, not everybody feels.
And, I mean, I do believe that 4,500 for the most experienced teachers, I think that is a very good amount. But of course, it is up to you all what you want to do.
Dr. Salinas, when you do the comparative studies, will you please incorporate the raises that those particular districts gave their personnel? Because it's going to change drastically.
And let's not forget that maybe the other districts do not have a deficit as we did.
That would be speculating as to what they have and what they don't have.
But, thank you.
Council, do we have to do it again?
Yes, it's better because there's a motion on the floor. It's better just to re-vote because after the discussion. So the motion was to approve something other than what
The
Mr.
plan that was presented.
What Mr. Villarreal
I
presented.
basically said 20 years, $4,500, 6 years and more, $4,000, 6 years and less, $3,500. That includes teachers, administrators, librarians, counselors. I said $2,000 for a paraprofessional with more than 6 years and $1,500 for people who have less, that's professionals and auxiliary. That was my motion, no one seconded.
Motion by Mr. Ayala, second by Mr. Castillo. All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, raise your left hand. And me as being board president, I will make a motion to pass the recommendation of the administration.
Second.
We have a second by Dr. B. All in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries.
Mr. President, at this time, I am moving that I am abstaining because I do not agree with the raises that are given to our personnel. So at this time, rather than vote for that, I am abstaining. Same.
I'm also abstaining, so I think we get it done better.
Abstaining, Mr. Castillo, Mr. Item number 6, consider and take possible action on requisition $5,000 and over in a 12-month
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board, Ms. Garza, and ladies and gentlemen. We do have requisitions for your consideration, and there's a handout addendum with additional requisitions that were that have been presented to committee. All these, excuse me, can you hear me all right? All these requisitions do have proper funding for them. I don't know if you have any questions on any of them.
I have a question, Joe, real
Yes,
quickly. Who is Bickerstaff, Heath, Delgado, Acosta? Because I seen that they seem to be coming up over and over and over again for tens of thousands and not hundreds of thousands of dollars. Who are they?
Yes, sir. They're attorneys working with the school district, and these are, there's pending litigation.
What is
on
it,
these.
could I ask?
I'd have to refer to Dr. Salinas.
Mr. Ariel, that's Mr. Stephen Weller, who's been representing us on the multipurpose center.
So let me ask, are there going to be any more bills? Has the multipurpose center already been settled or not, sir?
Yes, sir.
So are there going to be any more bills in the future, or is this the final bill?
Actually, I was notified by our general counsel. We received one at 5 o'clock, sir.
We got another bill.
If I may, Mr. President, Mr. Superintendent, Mr. Villarreal, board members, I did ask last week, the CFO asked me to look at some of the bills that they presented to get paid, and I questioned because how many we had paid of those and how many were not paid. And there's a combination of the multipurpose center litigation, there's a combination of the bankruptcy, and then there was some other personnel issues. And they sent me a resume at 5:11 this afternoon. I have not seen it, but they have an additional 141,000.
How much?
$114,000.
$114,000
Yes.
additional to the 29,000?
Yes, sir. Well, 29 might be included, but I just got that, so.
And we don't have money for raises. Wow.
I mean, and those are bills coming back from last year, November, December.
What again, so I can write it down, sir?
114, I'll forward you the email, sir.
Okay, we're not going to approve it tonight, right, or not?
No, sir, because the question was, how many more bills are outstanding? And I want to be transparent, the ones that I know of, to me, that's a substantial bill.
Could you do me a favor, Mr. Salazar?
Yes.
Can you give me a totality of how much we paid this individual? And at your own pace. I'm not asking you for tonight.
I will tell you, since we're on the item of attorney's fees, that the district last year, up until June, paid $583,000 in attorney's fees. And that does not include this 114 and the other 10,000 that are on today's agenda. So having said that, you're close to $707,000 in attorney's fees.
So you're going to be a bargain, Mr. Salazar, right?
My goal, Mr. Villarreal, is to lower the legal fees and to have control over all the legal fees. What has happened in the last year, and I've requested the last 3 years of legal, and what has happened is that there's so many attorneys that are coming in that there's no one to control. So my goal is to control them, and I have substituted in over 10 cases from June to today.
Can you tell me the amount for last year again, sir? Or what did you say?
The ones that were already paid,
Yeah.
$583,000.
$583,000.
And I'll forward you the email, sir, so you'll
And
have.
that was for what year, sir?
That was for 2018-19, which was the last year.
I'm sorry, but I have a question. Can I get some clarification?
Yes,
Multi-purpose center is a fire.
that's correct.
We had insurance that was paid for.
That's correct.
So a lot of these fees are subject to the fact that we did not have insurance coverage due to the fact that it was a bankruptcy.
That's correct.
So out of our control as to the legal fees required to work with that.
That's correct.
Is it also true that the majority of those $500,000 in fees happen to be due to the issues related to the poor construction of our schools previously?
No, ma'am, not the 580. No, that's,
Majority of-
the 580,000 are just, those do not include that.
They don't include any of the
No, ma'am.
litigation that have anything
Well,
to do
most-
with the schools
No.
or any of the issues.
Well, most
So
of
then
those,
how much was it that we spent for litigation with our schools? If that doesn't include anything,
And again-
anything we have litigation for.
Mr. Salazar, I can answer that. I've got the numbers. Construction lawsuits were between $2.2 and $2.6 million.
Construction lawsuits?
The attorney's fees for the local attorney.
Right, and again-
Now, I don't know what Jolly charged, but I know that.
Right, and again, they're not included in here.
This amount, Mr. Salinas?
Yes, sir.
This amount that you said, this is for Mr. Webb,
The item on the agenda, Mr. President, that is correct.
that's 101, what was it?
No, the amount that's on the agenda is 29,000. But
Mr. Salazar is saying there's another 114,000 pending.
I was informed today at 5:11 that there was an outstanding.
Well,
That's for the multipurpose?
Yes, sir, the majority of that is
We give back to the district,
$1.5 million, I believe.
1.5.
1.5?
And that's cheaper than having,
Well, the bottom line is, we're not really going to know anything till we get the how much we paid, correct?
you're correct, sir.
Okay. And hopefully it'll be a bargain for us, sir. We're paying that kind of money, I'm sure you're going to lower your price, right? You're going to
No.
lower our attorney's fees, correct?
Well, what I'd like to do is I'd like to centralize all the fees, and instead of having 10 different attorneys charging you $8,000, $10,000, $15,000, $20,000, you'd have one bill, and I would take over all the litigation.
I like the idea, sir.
So explain to me exactly the fact, what was that for, though?
They're-
Communication with, which is an important had for the last several years.
Right, they are separate. There are some car accident lawsuits, there is the election, there was some grievances, there was some personnel, there was some special education training that was done by Walsh Anderson. So there is a multitude, and I will send every board member tomorrow morning that list of the 580, and it's, I mean, it's all public record.
But, Mr. Salazar, what was the cost of the attorney's fees for running the election? Do you remember?
$50,000.
$50,000.
That's correct.
Okay, and that was for 2 months, a month and a half?
I wasn't here, sir, but that's what it was allocated for.
Thank you.
Is that normal as for a district judge?
Normal for a district this size, you don't hire an attorney for elections. Either chief financial officer or your HR person does it, because again, it's a very cookie cutter process. You don't need an attorney for that.
So the most elections don't have the issues that we've had in the last several elections as far as legalities that have just gone through different actions?
No, most elections don't have that, but again, we're looking at, to run an election, normally you have an administrator from the school district that does it, and again, it's normally no cost to the
Mr.
district.
Salazar, isn't it true that most districts have an employee from the school, maybe a business person or somebody, that the people who run the elections usually are school personnel, correct?
Almost
And
every,
they're given a stipend to run the election, correct? Or something?
almost every school district does it that way, yes, sir.
Mr. Salazar, most of these expenses, when you talked about car accidents, is a result that we had to pay out of pocket because the insurance was bankrupt.
Well,
And
that's,
So technically, this coming year, we have a proper insurance, so naturally, the attorney's fees are going to go down this year.
that's correct. That's number one. The other thing is that your deductible on your insurance with like the car accidents or bus accidents, the deductible is $100,000. So I'm telling you because I've done these for a while, and what happens is the defense attorneys, hope there's no defense attorneys out there, but what they do is they'll bill the district, 50,
Get
60,
$100,000.
70, right at about 95 or 96, then they want to settle the case because they know they're not going to get paid anymore. So again, if you handle them in-house, and I'm going to be bringing some of these things to executive session
Why
to
is
the board.
your deductible so high, out of curiosity?
Sorry?
100,000 seems high for deductibles on car accidents, don't you think?
That's a going rate for a school district this size. If you get a policy that's 50,000, then you're going to pay up front for it. So it's not cost effective to have a $50,000.
You take from Peter to give it a Paul, then I guess, right?
Unless you
If
have.
you go to 50,000, you're going to pay for it.
Right.
If you wait for 100,000, you're going to pay for it. So basically, it comes out in the wash. It's the same thing, correct, at the end, more or less?
No, if you have one attorney controlling it, then that one attorney control how much is spent, and you cap attorneys when.
Don't charge us $500,000.
I won't, sir. My goal is to get you at least half of the 580.
Okay.
So charge you less than the 580,
That
at least
sounds-
half.
That sounds like a good deal.
Okay.
And that goes into raises too, next year.
Yes, sir.
Do we have a motion on item 6?
I move that we approve item 6 as presented. Mr. Salazar, can you give us the totals of all the attorneys in the next few days?
I'll send you all the bills, sir. I'll send every board member.
There's a motion.
I'm sorry.
There's a motion by Mr. Villarreal. Do we have a second? Second by Mr. Castillo. All in favor, please raise your right hand. Yes, yes.
Very sensible. You seem to have an excessive amount of monies that are going to air conditioning repair, HVAC repair. Do you
Yes,
have an
ma'am.
idea of what the total amount of that is over the last month?
I don't, but I believe our maintenance directors here should have that figure.
Hello, Mr. Board President, members of the board, Superintendent, Ms. Garza. Right now, we're in the last couple of, I can speak for the month that I've been here. We are looking at over 200,000. This is including, at the moment that I was reassigned to maintenance, there were some pending bills that needed to get paid. And then at the time that, again, going back to my reassignment, we were about a couple of weeks from starting the school year, so we were having issues at most of the campuses. So we've been hitting it hard in terms of trying to get everything up to par. So we're hoping once we get this approved, that, it's just going to be, basically maintenance of the units.
Mr. Lopez, can I ask, isn't it a fact that the reason we have high HVAC bills is because we have maybe only 2 or 3 technicians and 2 helpers for the whole entire school district?
When I was reassigned to maintenance at early August, we did have 1 certified technician. Since then, Ms. Garza has transferred another 1 certified. And then we did have 1 that was acting more as a consultant, working half a day. Now he is out there, helping us out.
Isn't it true also, maybe you know or maybe you don't know, but isn't it true that a lot of the people that techs we had, the air-conditioned techs, moved to STC and other places because our salaries are way low for the AC techs? The fact of the matter is we don't have enough AC techs to cover the whole school district. And unless we start hiring more AC techs, our bills are going to go up, correct?
The fact of the matter is that a lot of these bills are due to parts, if I'm not correct.
Right now, a lot of it, Dr. B, and I'll answer your question, a lot of it is parts, but we have found out that it is cheaper to just buy the whole unit than to buy a compressor, a coil. We end up doing better just buying the whole unit, and we get a 5-year warranty. So,
So we allotted 500,000, but we've actually spent 800,000 in addition to the 257,000 that you were requesting this month. Is that right?
okay, on the allotted 500,000, again, I'm going on, to be honest with you, I'm going on what my techs have told me. I know 500,000 was allotted to HVAC, but not, the 500,000 was not spent on HVAC. It was, some of it was spent on HVAC, and Dr. B, I don't have the answer. I'm going on what my techs told me. So, well, and some of it was spent on HVAC, but they're telling me that not all 500,000. So I can get the answer for you. I'm just kind of, this is something that happened before I was there, so when they told me that it was not all used on HVAC, I didn't go and ask the CFO.
You're saying that the department was spent 500,000 for HVAC repairs, and just all of it go to HVAC. Is that correct?
Can you repeat the question?
So the 500 was allotted for HVAC, and all did not go to HVAC.
Yes.
Okay. So in total, we spent close to how much? A little over $1 million now in.
With tonight's requisitions, yes.
And so with the energy savings program that we implemented, that we thought was probably a better idea because we didn't want to continue to throw money and money at the repairs because we knew that if we purchased, we were guaranteed a return on that purchase. Approximately how much have we seen? I know it's not official numbers because we're not at a critical period by the measure, but how much of return have we seen investment in the production of the energy savings program, which we wanted to make sure we get a lot to pay for these new units and also make sure we got the money back that we spent.
Last Friday, we met, Mr. Lopez and I, and we were looking at some numbers on the reports on the meters that were within the scope of the project of E3, and we have seen a decrease of $214,749. And we still have about 5 months to go till the end of the year.
Mr.
$114,000 in
Yes.
5 months ago, and we've spent $1 million in the last 6 months.
Yes.
Money that we wanted to.
Ms. Robles, can I ask
Yes,
a
sir.
couple of questions for Marie? Do we still have warranty with those E3s? Or are they still under warranty or not? The E3?
Yes, the units, once a unit is placed, it has a 5-year warranty,
Okay. Is that parts and labor or only parts?
parts and labor.
Because I've been told that in Ringo Middle School, they're having all kinds of air conditioning problems. And supposedly they say exactly what you're saying, that it's got a 5-year warranty on parts, but I don't know about the labor. Have you checked that out?
I will check that out. Mr. Varela, getting back to your question, I'm sorry that you asked about hiring. I met with Ms. Garza this morning, and we did open a vacancy position for HVAC. If I'm correct, did that go through, Dr. Salinas, this morning?
Yes, sir, that's correct. We did open a vacancy for HVAC tech.
Are we going to offer competitive salaries, sir? Because if we don't offer competitive salaries, we ain't going to get anybody.
Now, Mr. Varela, here, what I have met with Ms. Garza and Dr. Salinas here, and you mentioned STC, and you are correct. Right now, what we're having an uphill battle here is that besides the salary, they have free insurance, and they have free education for the employee and their family. So right now, that's what we're going up against.
So would you recommend that we pay our HVAC people, if we can get some certified technicians, pay them good money so they can stay in our district, number one? Number two, isn't it also a fact in anything you do in air conditioning, most of the time labor accounts between 30 and 35% of your job. So let's say they did a $500 job. Normally the parts are 300 and your labor is 200, correct?
Correct.
I do want to add, Mr. Villarreal, that this morning we had a discussion about the existing units that we have. We do have a large number of them that are 15 years or older, and we're seeing the effect now that they're breaking down. We are going to be looking into a lease purchase agreement to see if they offer that, just like we have with buses. So where we just pay a certain amount and we don't have to worry about labor parts or any of that. So we're looking into that option as well, trying to find a solution that could help our district.
I compliment you because that's the way to go, lease purchase. None of this stuff, we lease purchase and we buy them and we get people to install them. That's the way to go. Not to spend $7.129 million in energy efficiency. The way to go is what you're saying, man.
So we're going to look into that option.
The last 2 years, when all these air conditioners were becoming older, why didn't we lease purchase? And then maybe we wouldn't be here today.
I agree with you, man. Lease purchase is a place to go on these air
And
conditioners. Try and offer some good salaries, I would say, so we can get these air conditioned techs.
yes, and again, we opened up the vacancy position today. We'll see, hopefully, we get some good candidates. And again, as per Ms. Garza, that was a great idea with the lease. I started already today reaching out to some of the companies here in the valley, and we're setting up meetings as we speak to see what possible proposals they can offer to the district.
Mr. Salinas, let's say we hired 4 techs or 3 techs or 5 techs tomorrow. Would they be subject to getting that raise that's being proposed or not?
No, sir.
Thank you.
I have one more question.
Go ahead.
You and I know, sir, you've been doing a dynamic job. You have nothing but compliments from a lot of the principals in the district.
Thank you.
Help us in this
Thank you.
very situation. With all the money that we spent so far, and with all the measures that you've taken so far, what percentage of repairs or where do you think that the money that we spent, we are effectively replaced or in a good place? What percentage are we still needing to repair?
That's a tough question for me to answer. I'm thinking we're still over easily 50%. And again, I'm taking a guess, Dr. B. I mean, we're working on a report here that Ms. Garza asked for. I'll probably, when I finish the report, I can give you a better answer. So right now, again, what I feel good about is everything that we are buying. We are having the 5-year warranty. If this lease purchase that we talked about with Ms. Garza, if it works out, that looks like right now that would be the route to go. I did talk to Bill Savarino from E3. He is coming. He unfortunately is on vacation, but as soon as he gets back from vacation, he is supposed to come and meet with me and my supervisor and see what options. So we're looking at every possible avenue besides hiring, leasing, see what E3 can offer. We're going to take the best, what we can do in the best interest of the district.
And you know, I know this is a very difficult question, but with 50% of our units in disrepair, ballpark figure, how much is that going to cost us?
Are you really prepared to say that, Mr.?
I don't, yeah. I don't have enough experience. Unfortunately, I don't want to throw out a figure and I'm way off.
You spent $257,000 in 1 month and we're still 50% left.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm hoping, Dr. B, that again, once things settle down and we get going, it's very hard. There's been, I'm meeting with Ms. Garza at 6:30, 7 p.m. and I'm telling her, Ms. Garza, everything is great. Within 2-3 hours, we're getting calls. The high school went down. We had a power outage at the Ford. So it's hard. I don't want to throw out numbers because I have no idea, Dr. B.
To that question, I think we were already presented that, and I think it was, I know Mr. Rezo might have it, I think it was about $7 million to replace everything with new equipment. I think that's more or less. Well,
Okay, yeah. I'm going to be honest. I would have no idea, Mr. Garcia, in terms of the total. I mean, we would need to have somebody come in and give us a needs assessment. I wouldn't have said that type of number. I have no idea. I'd be guessing.
Mr. Lopez, I have one question. First and foremost, don't you think that if we had a good, I'll call it a maintenance program, air conditioning, filters, and oiling, that would help alleviate a lot of things we did, right?
One of the things, Mr. Varela, that we are emphasizing here, and I know I did talk to Mr. Juan Garcia that was there. He was a few months there as prior to me, is that they did start the filter crew that we're going now. I have a quote here for y'all. With 12 of the 18 campuses just to get the filters for 1 month, it's over 11,000. So, and talking to Alex, my supervisor, I said, you know what, Alex, we're missing 6 campuses. If we were to add those 6 campuses, we kind of, again, a rough guess here, about 15,000. If we do that monthly, we're talking 15,000 a month just, on the filters. There's a couple of campuses, 2 or 3 campuses that we can't wait a month. It has to be every 3 weeks. And I'll give a couple of examples, Sanchez Elementary and La Union, because of the dust, because of, everything that they have to deal with their surrounding environment. They have to be doing that, every 3 weeks. So I know in talking to my guys, were they doing it successfully monthly? No. what they were shooting for was every 2 months, 3 months, again, based on budget. So right now, our goal, and if we can do that to where we do it monthly, we're going to have just a crew, a two-man crew, and that's their job. They start, in one corner of our school district, and, by the end of the month, start, finish in the other, and then they start over again. It seems like it's not a lot of work, but you have so many units per campus. So that's our goal. That's another thing that will be prevented work that will hopefully keep us, from these things breaking down.
But is that how we got here? How did we get to 90% of our units in this report?
I know, Dr. B, again, that part in terms of the filter crew, did we have that was that going on monthly? No. That's one of our goals. We're going to have to budget, $15,000 a month and just be consistent with it, 12 months a year. So, again, I've been here a month, so I can't go too far back in terms of, but I can tell you that's what we're, aiming to have done.
Ms. Robles, I have a question for you. Thank you, Mr. Lopez. Doing a wonderful job, sir.
Thank
Good
you.
job.
Mr. Lopez, before you leave, I just want to congratulate you. I've heard very good comments about you, about answering your phone as soon as something goes bad. And I just wanted to congratulate you for your good job.
Thank you, sir. It makes it easy when you have the type of employees that I have, very hardworking and very dedicated. So thank you. I'll make sure to pass the message to my department. Thank you.
Ms. Robles, I have a couple of questions. Correct me if I'm wrong. How many schools were involved in lawsuits? I know it's like Gruya High School, Gruya Elementary, Ramirez Elementary,
Rio High.
Veterans, the Rio High School, 6, 7 schools?
Right,
And we were given many, many millions of dollars, correct?
right,
And those many, many millions of dollars were given to us a few years ago, correct?
yes.
And that money was there designated to do what? Repair the schools?
It was not designated,
Right, to repair the schools that were...
right,
And that money could have been used to fix air conditioners, correct?
right.
But at the end of the day, we used very little of that money for the reparation of schools, did we?
Yes,
Okay, thank you.
And that is true, since La Union and Sanchez were built. I mean, that money never got, I think that if we would have done that many, many years ago, we wouldn't have the type of units that we have now.
The bottom line is we sued, we had construction lawsuits to the tune of 7 schools, and the fact of the matter is we got many millions of dollars, and the fact of the matter, very, very little of that money made its way, and this didn't happen today, it happened many years ago. Very little of that money made its way to air conditioning, doors that don't open and things of that nature, so.
And that's where we want to spend the money
So
on the
I
facilities.
think we have a motion, I think we need to pass it or not pass it.
And that's where her point was, that Sanchez and La Union, including, which is now Ringo Middle, were under your watch, and the money was spent in the schools.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
Oh, I said that's what she was trying to make a point, that La Union, Sanchez, and Ringo Middle, which is now Ringo Middle, had the same situation with the lawsuits, and the money was not put back in the schools, and that happened under
Well,
Mr. Varela's watch.
the fact of the matter that the 7 schools produced to the tune of, I would say, $25 to $40 million. Those schools you're talking about produced $3 or $4 million. Big difference. Anyway,
There's more than
there's a
that.
motion.
There's more than
I
that.
haven't been here too long, but I've heard that problem has been going on for years. So the best thing to do is just learn from our mistakes and move forward and start spending the money where we need.
Repairing the campuses.
We have a motion on item 6.
So moved.
I think we already had a motion and we had a second, correct? All we needed was a vote.
Yes.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Varela, second by Mr. Castillo. All in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries. Item number 7, consider and take possible action on 2019-2020 compensation schedule.
Mr. Board President, members of the board, Superintendent of Schools, Ms. Garza. Item number 7 is the compensation schedule, which reflects the compensation plan. Basically, the compensation schedule, what it does, it carries the pay structures for administrators, administrative support, for paraprofessionals and auxiliary. We have the supplemental portion, which is you're looking at tutorials in summer school. And you have the stipend portion, which you're looking from fine arts, athletics, club chairs and sponsors, department heads. So we created one packet, which we would call our compensation schedule. And just to be clear, there's one addendum we'd like to make to your packet, which is the teacher scale. If you look at the new teacher scale, I believe it is on page 15. That is our current teacher scale. And you look at the 0 years experience all the way to 20, where we max out. And the administrative recommendation is to increase that by $2,000 from 0 all the way to 20. So in essence, your starting teacher would make $45,000. We are looking at the end of August, which is this month, and tonight's executive session, we're looking at hiring a total of 8 since the summer, and possibly another 2 or 3 in the September, which did not make tonight's agenda. Just to be clear with our employees that are at home or in attendance, this is for new hires. It's not to be confused with the compensation plan that was approved earlier and a couple items ago.
So let me ask, the raises that were proposed and were approved tonight, would they be put in this compensation plan or schedule or whatever you want to call it?
No, sir. Our goal was, if your 0 year teacher would come in at 45, and if I'm not mistaken, the 0 to 5 was 35.
So you're incorporating the compensation that was approved on this thing, correct?
No, sir. Just 2,000 across the board, all the way from 0 years, all the way to 20. So you'd max out at 56,432 if you're 20 years, if you're new to the district.
So this has nothing to do with what we just approved?
That is correct. Yes, sir. That is correct. It's all,
This is just a schedule of what raises are going to be, if people come into our district?
that is correct.
Okay.
Yes, sir. So again, just for the record, one more time, this is for new hires, not to do anything with the compensation plan that was approved a few items ago. That is correct. Administration recommends approval.
Do we have a motion on items 8?
Move to approve item 8 as presented.
It's number 7.
We have a motion by
No, it's number 7, not number 8.
Sorry.
Move to approve item 7 as presented.
We have a motion by Mr. Garcia, do we have a second? And by Dr. B, all in favor, raise your right hand. Please raise your left hand, motion carries.
Thank you.
Item number 8. Consider and take possible action on request for permission to advertise for the after-school center for education grant school programs for the 2019-2020 school year.
Good afternoon, Mr. Board President, Madam Superintendent, the audience, and board members. Once again, we have been granted the ACE grant, also known as ACE After School Centers on Education. We're on cycle 10, year 2. The granted schools are Gruya High School, Veterans Middle School, Ringo Middle School, and Gruya Middle School, VMS, RMS, and GMS. And once again, I'm asking permission to advertise for the positions, which is going to go on needs assessment, which means basically that we pick up surveys from the students, because we find out that as research states that the only way they're going to stay after school till 7 o'clock. My program runs from 4 to 7 o'clock Monday through Friday. And we have a tremendous attendance, especially at Gruya High School. The middle schools, it was our first time we initiated it last year. The principals have been very supportive, the site coordinators, so we're asking permission to advertise for the positions based on the needs assessment. For example, in one school they might request robotics, in another school they might request dancing, in another school they might request accordion, and we find out that that's how the students stay. Because if we offer things that like, well, I want to, my daughter to get a job or my son to get a job, so let's open this position for him, we realize that the students won't stay. So we do a needs assessment, and based on what the children check off is what we offer. The first hour is the power hour. I work in conjunction with our federal programs director, Ms. Gonzalez, and we want to start at the same time. So the first hour is the power hour, which is 1.5 hours, where they do academic tutoring, and then the other rest of the 1.5 hours is based on enrichment. So with your permission, I would like permission to advertise.
Do we have a motion on item 8? We have a motion by Dr. B. Do we have a second? Second by Mrs. Lopez. All in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Anything on reports? Reports? It's now 7:31, under the authority of the Texas Government Code Section 551.001-551.00084, now it's closed session. Item, motion, do we have a motion on item B?
I move that we approve the resignations of existing personnel as presented in closed session.
We have a motion by Mr. Delgado. Do we have a second? Second. Second by Mr. Castillo. All in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries. Do we have a motion on item C?
I move that we basically approve the recommendations for employment to vacant positions as discussed in closed session.
We have a motion by Mr. Delgado. Do we have a second? Second by Mrs. Lopez. All in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries. Do we have a motion on item D?
I move that we basically use the services of Mr. Baltasar Salazar to go correct an easement language on property with the county of Star, correct?
We have a motion by Mr. Delgado. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Ramirez. All in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries. We have a motion on item E.
I move that we again use Baltasar Salazar, our counsel, to go and negotiate a real estate lease with the antenna, or the name of the antenna was,
You don't need to mention the name,
okay,
just
with the
real estate
antenna,
lease.
and as discussed in closed session.
We have a motion by Mr. Villarreal. Do we have a second? Second. Second by Mr. Castillo. All in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
We have a motion by Mr. Villarreal. Do we have a second? Second by Dr. Lee. All in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries. Thank you very much for the gifts, the caps, and the tickets.